the single biggest, one of the single biggest negotiation tactics that you have to learn. You're not going to get it the first time, but you got to learn how to do it. Is the takeaway. This is what's called a takeaway. Good salespeople know how to take it away. There's so many ways to do it, but you got to learn how to take it away.
I'm going through something right now. My sister wants to sell her place, so obviously it's family, whatever. And I've been working with a buddy who's been looking at property, and it's not on the market, right? So I've kind of said, well, you're probably gonna have to pay this for this property. She's not gonna sell it for less. And then my sister goes, oh, don't you love family? She goes, well, I think him and I can just work on this on our own, and we'll ask you for help later if we need to, right? I'm like, all right, whatever, right? I'm not gonna wreck my sister's, I'm not gonna do that, right? And then she phones me, and this is like a good friend of mine, right? And I've been working with him for 6 months. Hey, I think you should do this. This would be good for you. So investment property, whatever, right? And they go, well, yeah, we came to an agreement. This is the offer, and this is whatever. Could you please write it up for us? I said, okay, well, this is kind of what I charge for if it's not on the market. This is my flat fee to do 2 transactions. It's going to cost me money, right? Well, but I'm not making a lot of money on the whatever. Could you bring down your price? And like this is what I'm really in the middle of right now. And what I really want to say, and what you're telling me to say is, you know what? If you're not prepared to, to use my services, if I can't bring enough value to you, then get it done at the lawyer for $1,000. See you later. Because it's not going to be easy, right? He's not going to get his financing. I'm going to have to talk with the broker. The lawyer's not going to know how to do any of that stuff. The deal's probably going to die. Right? But it's hard when you're like, oh yeah, I might actually be able to make $2,000 here if I go their route, right?
See,
so it's hard.
As long as you realize that commissions and fees are an issue in the absence of value. As long as you understand that, and you help to communicate that to people, so that when you go to take it away. Now, sometimes when we go to take it away, I'm not saying this is, but sometimes when we go to take it away from people, part of what may or may not have happened properly is did we give them did they understand the value?
Mm-hmm.
See, because if they understood the value and you went to take it away, they'd reach for it. If I had a gold bar in my hand and I said, Tim, it's yours, he'd probably reach for it. And if I started to go for it, if I started to inch back, he'd be like thinking I just had a twitch or something, right? Because he already perceived that there was value there. But taking it away, it's a timing issue, but it also has to do with you cannot lose what you don't have. So it's another part of taking it away. You can't lose what you don't have. See, sometimes when I go to a listing every time I go to a listing presentation, I don't have the listing. So if I start to take away what I'm doing from them, I can't lose. You can't lose what you don't have unless you're a realtor. See, when you get your real estate license, parts of your brains go dead. You know that, because you haven't got your license yet.
I just passed.
Yeah, I know, but you haven't got your license yet.
No.
The moment you get your license, part of your brain sure will die. Just so you know. And actually, some stuff that you learned in grade 6, even like basic stuff like basic math. Only realtors think that 100% of nothing is something. Hey, Bob? Have you not observed that? Yeah, only realtors think that 100% of nothing is something.
And that's going to pay for my new car lease.
Yeah. Only realtors think that 50% of something is nothing. 50% of something is nothing. 50% of something is something. 100% of nothing is nothing. So if you get so mixed up with these things when you start to work with people, it's like when I have somebody on the phone, he's not cooperating. I haven't lost anything. I just happen to get a phone call from a knucklehead, or somebody just fresh off the boat from some country, right? And I'm talking to him when he's got he's gonna tell me his way of doing it. And I've been here in Canada. I came a long time ago. I wasn't born here, but I came a long time ago, so I know how to do it. Like either do it my way or go away. I know what I'm doing. Go do it with somebody else that you can try to take advantage of. How about starting with the appointment, like right off the bat? Let me help you here. Can I help you? The majority of realtors, they talk to people on the phone to make an appointment, either to meet buyers or meet sellers. Period. That's part of what we do, right? Fair statement? The majority of them will always do what the buyer or seller I got a little trick for you. Just practice this. No matter what they say, you can't do it. Just for fun. Just try it for a month. No matter what. Say, Ray, can you guys come by and say, can you come at 7? I say, no, I can't. 7's not. You know, you have to. Don't even check your calendar. Like, don't even check your calendar. Just go. You know what? That's not going to work. 7's not going to work. Let me. What other times do you guys have available? Now you can start checking your calendar. Even if they got the perfect time, say, you know what? That's not going to work. Take it away. Let me tell you another one to do. No, this is one you should do all the time. Never. Does everybody eat lunch here? Like, if you don't eat lunch, raise your hand. So everybody eats lunch here. Don't ever book 1 o'clock appointments. Ever, ever, ever. Do not book 1 o'clock appointments if you eat lunch. And then if you're like me, lunch is business. Always has been, always will be. So my lunch is always based on I'm having a business meeting with somebody. So I cannot, and then if I get a guy who's out east, like today I have a 1 o'clock appointment on the phone. So guess what I did to compensate? My lunch appointment starts at 11:45. See, because I know that if I book a 1 o'clock appointment, I'm going to be late, and I don't want to be late for appointments. But I also know that I start with the appointment. If I can't get control on booking the appointment, what chances do I have of getting control after I get to the appointment? So just try it out. And for crying out loud, walk away at least once in your life from something. Come on. At least once in your life. You know that guy I walked away from? I can still remember it was an acreage property, and I left that poor guy in the driveway. I said, you know what? Best of luck to you, but there's not a chance my sign's going on that property the way you've been talking with me. Not gonna happen. See you later. And all the other guys I tried to walk away from, they wouldn't let me. See, this is the power. I had the Scottish guy, and he was just, I went on with him for over an hour about commissions one night. And he goes, Ray, you're way more commissions than the other people. I said, yeah. I said, therefore, I slammed the book. I said, get the other people. Get Marion from Century 21. He said, I don't want Marion. See, now, when I learned this years ago, it is not about the lower commission. That's how they come across at you. What you gotta realize is this. It's either me or the other person. Forget the commission. So I get there and I interact with the person. I wanna find out. I check with them. So one of the things I do, through the discussion, I check. Are you sensing you could work with me? Do you like me? Like I asked him, do you like me? Like here's the deal. You can't hurt my feelings. My wife loves me. My kids love me. Grandkids love me now. So I don't really give a rip if you don't love me. You know what I'm saying? Like if you love me, that's great. But if you don't, it's not gonna hurt my feelings. I'm gonna sleep well tonight. My wife loves me. I'm good. My mom loves me when she was here, so I'm good. So if you don't love me, I can't make everybody love me. So when I'm talking to them, I find out whether they like me or not. And if they like me, chances are they like me better than they like the other person with a low commission. Now, it's not about the commission, it's about me or the other person. I don't discuss commission anymore. And if he keeps making a discussion about commission, I get up and leave. And I'll tell you what, 9 out of 10 times, they'll call you back. 9 out of 10 times. You see, the question of really, I used to make this comparison all the time. I say, look, you want to work with Marion? Or Annette, or any of these people who are cutting commission? No. I want to work with you, Ray. Oh, I said, you know what? I'll do it for the lower commission. I've said this a few times, and this really gets them. I fight them, and then finally I said, okay, I'll do it for the lower commission. Just like this. And then looking at me, and then I come back up and I go, on one condition. They go, what's the condition? I said, we're going to go to the auto mall. And I said, the guy at the BMW shop will sell us the 500 series car for the same price as the Chevy guy. I said, then I'll do it. And of course, you won't, so I'm not going to do it. But you see, by this time, the reason I can use that example is because I made it I made it about me and the other person and what I do, what the other person does. And so what I'm doing is I'm hammering into their head the value. Either I have certain value and the other person has certain value, and the values are different. The price is different. So you gotta get good at this and learn to break it off. Okay, this is a tactic. It's, you know, like I'm gonna go through a lot of tactics. I'm gonna go fast. The purpose of this tactic, changing standards, is you gotta get outside the box that you're in. So whatever the situation is, you know, I don't know how many times I've said, you know, people have certain benchmarks, good, bad, or their criteria. I had a guy last week. He goes, Ray, I wanna live in a townhouse. I wanna have a fenced yard. I wanna have a garage that I can park 2 pickups in. And I stopped him. I said, are the bedrooms flexible? Well, they might be. I said, the backyard's not flexible, fenced backyard is not flexible. I said, because I knew what I wanted, to get a dog. If he wants to live in a townhouse complex with a fence, where you have fence backyard, why do you want a fence backyard? To get the dog. I said, is the dog flexible? The dog's absolutely not flexible. You know, the dog's not flexible, that's part of the family. So I said, you know what? I can find what you want, but one of the cars is not gonna be in the garage. Because where the heck am I gonna find a townhouse like with 2 pickups in, right? You know what I'm saying? I can find a townhouse like a fenced yard. And I can find a townhouse with 3 bedrooms, or maybe with 2 bedrooms that I can put, you know. I said, so the bedroom, it's only him and his wife. So I mean, she needs a bedroom, he needs, I didn't go there. I didn't go there. But what I'm saying is, you know, whatever they tell you the standard is, maybe you could change the standard a little bit. How about checking the facts? Whenever people give you a whole bunch of information in a negotiation, they tell you stuff, you have to be smarter than they are. So if you know you're going to a listing presentation, you better know everything that's going on before you get there. You know, like you don't want to get there and find out that there was several sales that you weren't able to pull up on MLS, as an example. That's being unprepared. See, because if the neighbors sold for next door to them and it's not on MLS and you go to list the house, they're gonna throw this in your face, aren't they? So there's, you know, you gotta have all the facts. That's all I'm saying. So you gotta, and then you gotta be the person. See, the question you gotta ask yourself: do people hire you because you can do the technical stuff? Like I can write up contracts. That's why people hire me. Everybody in real estate can write up contracts. I learned that in the first year. Everybody with a license to write up contracts. So why are they going to hire me? They're going to hire me because I know more than everybody else that writes up contracts about a whole bunch of things. I'm an expert on so many things that relate to the business, and that's why they're going to hire me. Not just because I can write a contract. So I've got to become a student of the business. To be good at this business, you've got to be a student of the business. If you're just gonna float through this, driving taxis on the side or do whatever else some of these people do, right? You don't need to know it. But if you're gonna be a great negotiator, you gotta have lots of information. Like for instance, you gotta know the past sales. You gotta know the news. You gotta know what's coming down the pipe. You know, when the hospital was announced here in Abbotsford, it affected real estate big time. But a lot of people didn't understand all the facts related to the hospital. Some people still don't understand all the facts. Some people don't understand that the hospital's not done hiring. How long has the hospital been open? Anybody remember?
It's 2 years.
Has it been 2 years?
No, 4.
It's been more than 2. It's been open
4 and a half.
It's at least, I was gonna say, it's more, the hospital's been open for 4 years and they haven't hired all the people yet. So and the reason is because they can't hire all those people all at once. They gotta slowly build the thing out, right? But that affects us because whenever there's a huge employer in your town, or several, that's gonna make economic growth.
That new mall that's coming up on Levy?
The mall coming up in Mount Lehman, that is like, you know, whenever there's a project, like a mall, a hospital, there's a project that gets started while we're here, you know what that's like? That's like a train coming down the track. We're gonna have a break in about 5 minutes. So when a train leaves Calgary, it's gonna get here. Like, I don't know how many days it's gonna take, but it's gonna get here. So when they start building that mall, it's gonna get here. And it's gonna affect us, and it's gonna make sales happen, and so you gotta know how to interpret these things. Control the agenda. Okay, control the agenda. You know, with some people, if you do not control the agenda, you're gonna waste a lot of time. And so every meeting I have with people, there is an agenda, and if I can tell them the agenda ahead of time, that's even better. Or if they can tell me the agenda ahead of time. So whenever I don't know if you, well, there's so many areas where you end up getting business from if you stay in the business long enough time. One of the things I always wanted to do when I was first starting the business, I just kind of knew that you don't start in real estate and break into certain sectors right away, but if you work at it, you could probably get some of this type of business. One of these areas of business is RCMP transfers in and out. So I lived in a town. There's a lot of RCMP there. I know one of these days, because that business was sort of tight in a drum when I started. There was not a chance Ray was getting there, that business, in the beginning. But sooner or later, I worked my way into it. But when I got it, I was already prepared. I was already prepared because you see, I studied what needed to be done. They're a different type of client, and there's so many things that they're gonna need that are different. And if you get in with them, you get in with the police. Like, I mean, that is a steady stream of business day in, day out, year in, year out. You know what I'm saying? One of the first questions, I used to drive around on a truck that was totally deckled up. I was, as far as I know, the first guy in the province with decals all over his truck, right? Then a guy in Prince George started. When I came to Limax Locator, I'm the only guy that had stuff in my truck, and they thought I was a weirdo. Where did this guy come from? Hey Bob, do you remember when I first came to this town? I didn't have any of that.
We all thought you were a weirdo, right?
Yeah, you could think I don't really give a rip what you think. I sold more real estate than everybody in this town. And I met Larry Seward. Larry was the top agent in town. And the only reason he would meet with me was because I said, well, what was your best year? He said 70-some deals. I said, Larry, my best year was 140-some deals. That was last year. I said, why don't you come have a meeting with me? And 2 meetings later, you joined. Control the agenda. You gotta be ready. Like those RCMP officers, you try having meetings with them, it's all about the agenda. The first question this guy says to me, he says, Ray, do you have an unmarked vehicle that doesn't have your stuff all over on it? And I said, yep. He says, please bring that to my house. Don't pull up to my house with your Remax truck. See, everything they do is secret. See, after I get the listing, it's fine. I've actually listed some stuff for certain policemen. There was no signs of the law. It's all a big secret. And when I worked, I sold lots of homes for RCMPs after I got into it, right? There was so many things they did. It's like every week I would have a meeting to explain what was going on, which was great for me. Some people think, is that bad? No, that's great. That's great. I had the meeting booked every week, every Wednesday at 3 o'clock. We meet for coffee. I bring my report. Here's what happened. Here's what we need to change the price. Listen, I love dealing with people like RCMP because I would say to them all the time. I say, hey, Andres, do me a favor. If I start telling you how to do policing, slap me. Like if I start telling you how to do the police work, I say just slap me. Just reach across and slap me.
You say, or arrest me, right?
Yeah, arrest me. If I start telling you how to do police work, just slap me. I said, guess what? I won't do that if you don't keep telling me how to do real estate. I've done that to truck drivers, everybody, you know. So, control the agenda. They want to get off telling me, don't tell me how to sell houses. Give me a break. I sold more houses than you. I don't care who you are, like truck driver, equipment operator. Okay, let's have a quick break. The bathrooms are downstairs. Okay, there's another tactic. It's called credentials. It's called showmanship, show and tell. Okay, so I can tell you there's several places realtors fall down on is because they don't have a system. So if you have I'll give you an example, a pre-listing package. Once you develop a pre-listing package, there's so many things that need to be in a pre-listing package, but this is one of them. So, and when you realize I need to have my credentials in my package in such a way that it just saves me having to talk about things. So credentials, it's just a negotiating tactic. I've done it for years. So every package I send out to my sellers or to my potential sellers, every listing appointment, I've got a whole package, but in it, it's got my credentials. Okay. Credentials would include designations, sales awards, letters of recommendation, all these kinds of things. And when you have those things in there, I'm going to tell you, decide. If you have a proper listing package, if you don't have one, I'll show you how to, there's several things to put in there. You have a listing package, well, I prove this. Every year for over 100, I did over 100 listing presentations for years. Over half of them, when I got there, they were ready to sign. Now, here's the magic. Anytime you can get paper to convince people to sign with you, I don't care what the paper costs, it's a good thing. Hey Bob?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
If you can produce a bunch of paper and send it off to somebody's house, and by the time you show up, the paper sold you.
Yep.
So they're ready to sign. I don't care what the paper costs, get it done. Paper's cheap. I'm expensive. But like for instance, you know, like a resume. Most people don't know how to build a resume. To learn how to do that. But certificates, awards, letters of reference, pictures. You know, some people, this one has never really turned my crank, but it seems to turn a lot of people's crank, and the results seem to be the same. So I'm not knocking it, but I mean, it's never really turned my crank to. I was with John Maxwell a few weeks ago, and somebody said, "Did you get a picture with him?" I said, "No, I was right there in the room with him. He signed the book for me, but I didn't get a picture with him." But actually, people are going, "Ray, you should have had a picture with him." So you know, famous people like John Maxwell, Brian Buffini, or who knows, you know, get a picture with him. Okay, deadlines. I love this one. Actually, this is one that I see. It's a tactic that's used just about every day in Abbotsford and Surrey. And if you're dealing with anybody from Asia or South Asia, they'll pull this one on you every time. It's as old as the hills, but I watch all the realtors leave it. Mary Tess, you know, if we don't get this deal together today, I'm leaving on a plane tomorrow. It's as old as the hills. You go, really? You say, well, you know what, I'd really like to see if we can get together today before you leave on your plane. What time's your flight, by the way? Who's taking you to the airport? What time's your flight? Who's taking you? When they tell me to leave on a plane, I say, what time's your flight? And I've never said that to anybody. What time's your flight? And they came right back and said what time their flight is. It's seldom that somebody will be in the middle of doing something with me and they go, but Ray, I gotta get this done today because we're leaving, we're catching a plane tomorrow. I said, what time's your flight? I never miss a meeting. What time's your flight? And who's taking you to the airport? And all of a sudden I got, we used to have an expression up for it. She's taping. I can't tell you all my Northern expressions because she's taping. Ask me afterwards. So, delays. I'll tell you, this is something that's used against realtors all the time. There's always some delays. And I gotta tell you this, that some people from some countries, this is a tactic that they've practiced for years. They've honed their craft well. It's not necessarily something you'll see with people who are born and raised in Canada. With other people coming in Canada, this is one of their tactics, that's delaying. It's because they know that if they delay it could cause tension and cause the other person to wanna capitulate. So you gotta recognize that when people are delaying things, you know, they're delaying removing their subjects or delaying this or delaying that, it can be an issue. I mean, I can tell you some stories. I mean, I've had guys say to me, Ray, I'm not gonna close the deal. And I said, what do you mean? Well, could you come talk to me? Sure, I can come talk to you. So I get there and they go, Ray, I'm not gonna close the deal unless you give me some of your commission. Koreans. The typical Korean tactic. I said, well, you probably dealt with realtors who would give you their commission, right? He goes, yeah, every realtor I've dealt with will give me commissions. I said, well, I guess the first time for everything. I said, but I brought a form along. I said, I slipped the form around. I said, sign the bottom of that form and the deal will die and your deposit is going to be lost. And the seller will sue you. Well, you're not giving me your commission? I said, no. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. But I already made up my mind on certain things and see, remember, I'm still going to have my granola tomorrow morning whether he does the deal or not. And delays, there's lots of different ways to deal with it, but you just got to recognize it, right? Okay, divide and conquer. Get them arguing among themselves. gotta learn how to, definitely gotta learn how to do this, especially with certain buyers. If you have groups of buyers, you gotta, you know, if you can get them going against each other, sometimes it's hard to apply. But, it's a tactic you might wanna learn how to do. Ask them about their future plans. You know how I know future plans are a good way to divide and conquer? Because no two people in the room have the same future plans. Right? So you get even a husband and wife, one's thinking one thing, the other's thinking something else. So let's start talking about the future. So what's this gonna look like if we get the home sold? What are you gonna do with the extra equity? I bet you anything, he's got a plan, she's got a plan. Not necessarily the same plan. Sometimes they might have the same plan, but why don't you find this out? Why don't you get somebody on your side? The sooner you get somebody on your side, you're gonna be better served by getting somebody on your side that's with the other group. You know, like in residential real estate, most of the time you're dealing with husband or wife. You get outside of residential real estate, you're dealing with business partners, you're dealing with all kinds of other people. So if you learn how to get somebody on your side, that's gonna help you out. I like this one. I've been in lots of listing presentations where somebody's questioning what I'm doing. I just turn them on. I say, so like how many homes do you sell in your life, Kurt? Well, I've sold 3 or 4. I said, really? I sold that last week. That's what I did last week. You want to know what I did last year or all my time in real estate? If you're new, let me tell you how. If you're a brand new guy, you say, we do that every day in our office. No matter what they say, we probably do that every day in our office. You see what we did last year? Last year we sold more than all the other companies in town. And like, I mean, we're serious about selling real estate. That's why we send the part-timers to these other companies. Ask how many homes I sold in that. Tell again. Okay, this is a good one. Mary Tess, this is a good one. They ask you for money, you go, I'm sorry, I don't have any money. I just don't have it. It can't be done. You caught me on a really bad day, I don't have any money. You can say it any way you want. Or you can say, you want to know something? If you're looking to get my money, here's my wife's phone number, call her. I don't have any money to give away, so like me, you know, I could hook you up with the people. Okay, so like, it's a negotiating tactic. I can't afford it, I don't have any. Oh, this is bad. This is not one I recommend for you, but you gotta learn how to recognize this. I gotta be careful here because I can name certain groups of people. But there's certain groups of people that you just about rest assured that if you know what part of their story is. Like, Ray, if you give us a really good deal on the commission, I'm gonna get my brother and my cousin and everybody. You see what I'm saying? I got all these people that will come and do business with you if you give me a really good deal. And I just have to, help them understand that that's not how it works. You know, and one of the best ways to help them understand these things is, see, coming from a construction background, I've had lots of experience buying lumber, building homes. And one thing I know about buying lumber, it doesn't matter what lumber yard you go to in any town, you can't go in there and get 15% or some kind of a discount on a sheet of plywood. Like, I mean, it's just not gonna happen. They'll laugh at you. But if you ask them about a whole lift of plywood or a truckload of plywood, now we can start talking a discount. So when people start asking for discounts or things like that, what you gotta do is say, you know what, if there's enough transactions going across the table, we could look at something. We're talking about one transaction and a promise of a whole bunch of companies, that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. Let's get that off the table. So people that start making empty promises, you know they're not gonna be kept. You know, you don't want to do that. That's not you. Okay, this is powerful. This is powerful. You need to master this. It's called funny money. Okay, you got to get good at this. So you've got to get really good at playing financial games and percentages. So let me help you with one that happens day in, day out. This happens to realtors all the time. They screw it up. Mary Tess has a listing. She gets an offer. So she's got a listing with $610,000 for a house. And some realtor phones her up and says, Mary Tess, I got an offer. I'm gonna send it to you. This and that. She says, well, how much is it? asked a bunch of questions, but one of the questions for sure is how much is it? And the person says, well, Mary Beth, it's $575. She's at $610, and she priced this so bang on. The sales in the neighborhood were at about $610. The house could have actually been listed at about $615. But she wanted to sell it quickly, some people were motivated. She prices at $610, some guy sends her an offer $575. So when she phones for the appointment, because she's gotta present the offer, right? She phones the seller for the appointment, what's the first question out of the seller's mouth?
How much is it?
How much is the offer for? That's when you never say it's $575. So what you need to learn how to do is know, every time an offer comes, what is the percentage of the list price? Somebody got a calculator handy? Let's not do that, let's just do that one. So what's 575 divided by 610 multiplied by 100?
$94.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I phone them up and I say, folks, it's 94% of the list price. They go, really? I said, yeah. I said, we really need to talk about this. Now they're all excited. And this is a game of emotion. So I gotta have the emotion high to make this happen. So I show up at the house and they're pumped because the rate's coming. We've only been in the market for 3 weeks and he's already got an offer, 94% of the list price. They told the whole family. I can't believe it, this guy's unbelievable. Mary Tess is just, I knew she was more than just good looking. See, a lot of times people look at Mary Tess and she's just good looking. I know she's way more than good looks. She brought an offer from some, I don't know, for 94% of the list price. So what do I need to do? I need to get, you know, like chances are, I need to get that offer to 97% of the list price. And that's how I discuss it with the people. I go, you know what, we only need to get them up a few percentage points. Don't get them stuck on the 575. So what's 97% of 610?
$592.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's 600 divided by 610 times 100?
98.
98. See? So what was the first one? 592?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So on a poor day, we'll sell that house for 592. But on a good day, we'll sell it for 600. I'm actually talking about an actual sale I did last year. You know, so it's actual. I'm using the actual numbers, so I didn't make it up. And that's how I had the conversation. So I sell about a half a dozen homes a year just to kind of make sure I don't lose my hand in the game. So, but you got to learn how to do this, percentages, and learn how to do averages. You see, you got to learn how to do averages. So averages, there's so many things you can figure out what averages, and you got to learn how to do it. Square footage calculations. Now, square footage calculations are deadly. They are deadly. If you're selling condos, townhouses, things that are like stamped out type of property, as opposed to custom homes. But if you're selling townhouses and condos, you have to be an expert on square footage. Amen? I see him nodding his head. You have to be an expert. You cannot go, well, the last sale in here was $395. How many condos in there were exactly the same size? They're all slightly different. So you gotta go to the last sale and the square footage. I tell you what, I have won more deals, sold more buildings, or condos, little bit places, because I always argued square footage calculation and always won. I've never argued square foot calculation and lost. I don't think I've ever lost. I've always won, because the other person is not expecting it. I totally get them off guard. Totally, just blows them out of the water. Sales to listing graphs. You know, we got these graphs that you the in-house ones. So we have these in-house graphs, and we use them for listing presentations. It's why we take more listings than most people. The listings are like this, the sales are like this. You put that graph in front of people, and you go, do you want to have your house listed, or do you want to have it sold? I didn't realize it was that bad already. No, I know, because if you try to tell people what they need to know, they will not hear you. Because people don't learn by hearing, the majority. They learn by seeing. Don't tell what you can show. If you're gonna tell anything, do not tell people the facts. Tell them a story. The facts only tell them things. Stories sell them things. So if you think there's a really good fact you should tell them, you should have a story that explains the facts. So this is what we call, this is being really skillful, using these things, like absorption rate. Like I'll tell you what, if you learn how to do the absorption rate calculation, I have available for you guys an absorption rate calculator. I mean, it's unbelievable. Does anybody, Matt, have you used it consistently?
I use it to some extent.
Yes, when you can use this thing, it's deadly. It's just deadly. You pump all the numbers into the calculator, you print out a what if, you print out several what if scenarios, you take it to the seller when you're gonna do the listing, and you say, here's the absorption rate based on homes like yours. And they're just like you're blown right out of the water. You have information that blows them right out of the water, and they don't know how to argue. They go, do you wanna sell the house, you wanna list it? Are you looking for a listing service? You're looking for a sales service? I just need to know, folks. Like everybody in town wants to list your house. I'm just here to sell it. I just need to know what you guys want to do. Well, the serious, this is where you separate the looky-loos from the serious people. I can't be carrying listings. Only a small percentage of my listing inventory can be looky-loos. I can have a few. I'm allowed a few. The rest of them, they got to be serious about doing this because I'm going to spend time and money, and it's got to happen. So I got to have all this kind of funny money stuff to help them. Okay, this is similar to funny money. It's called fragmentation. I sold a house up in Yenkana in the fall, and I was stuck on the last little bit. So I reached into my wallet and I got out my serious negotiating tool. Somebody's seen it. It's a serious tool. You know how many deals I closed in this Timmy's car? Unbelievable. Because what I do is I take the difference between what they're arguing about. But Andrew wanted $565 and he didn't want to pay more than $560. You know, it's always $5,000 or $10,000, right? Out comes the Timmy's card every time. See, this is how you do it. You take the Timmy's card out, you take that number, you divide it, you figure out what it costs for that money. So what does it cost for that money every day? And it's usually, people are arguing over a cup of coffee a day. That's what they're fighting over. But if you break it down so it becomes ridiculous, I say, so what you're telling me, Kevin, for a cup of coffee a day, you're not gonna let your wife move into this house? That's what you're telling me. Well, I said, I'll tell you what. I said, if you go ahead, I said, I'll get the first month worth of coffee. Out comes the card again. I'll get the first month worth of coffee, so you don't have to miss your coffee the first month. You know, while you're kind of breaking yourself in, right? I gotta miss my coffee every day so my wife could have this house. So break things down into so many little things, you know. Okay, there's so many ways to do it. So for instance, if you haven't learned how to use a pricing pyramid, all a pricing pyramid is, tell me who's not seen a pricing pyramid? Who's not seen it? Only 3 people. Okay, tomorrow afternoon when I do a listing presentation, come on, I'll show you how to do pricing pyramid. But in the pricing pyramid, all I'm doing is I'm fragmenting pricing so that people understand that the difference between getting the home sold and not getting the home sold is not a lot of money. And what I'm trying to help them explain to people, what I'm explaining to people is that people do not buy homes for above retail. People buy homes for retail or below. Like if nobody buys jeans, like who do you know wakes up in the morning and says, I'm gonna buy a pair of jeans and I'm gonna pay more than retail? Or I'm actually gonna go look at some and they're asking more than retail. If you wanna get people looking at your jeans, you put them on sale. And people are lined up because they're below retail. So who the heck? Fortune John always wants to come out of me sometimes, you know. Who would wanna go look at a house that's priced above retail? I don't know, ask these realtors in town. Because 90% of them have their properties listed above retail because they don't know how to use a pricing pyramid. Or a saleability checklist. You see, in a saleability checklist, come tomorrow afternoon, I'm going to go through the saleability checklist. Is it tomorrow afternoon? I think Yeah, tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock, I'm doing a whole session here, just to help people who, on listing presentation, so there's so many things, but on a saleability checklist, what I'm doing there is I'm fragmenting a whole bunch of information, which enables me to reach in and grab the thing that really causes the pain in people. Why you know, to help me get the home sold. Or a showing preparation list, okay? This is just, there's so much information, like, when people call you to list their home, and you get the listing signed, now what? They haven't got a clue what's going on. So one of the things I always had, and it was kinda like, it made them feel like they did the right thing. So okay, well, folks, here's what happens next. It's kinda like after they signed, and I was gonna build them the home, and I came out and showed them the timeline. Okay, here's the timeline, here's how everything's gonna happen, here's what to expect, and it just makes them relax. So when they list the home, you should have a showing preparation list. Here's what you need to prepare to do every day. Here's what to expect when we have a showing. So we give them all this information. Or a marketing plan. I don't know how many times people have said to me, Ray, we listed with you because you had a plan. Everybody else didn't have a plan. They just wanted the listing. I got the listing because I had a plan. You list, this is what's gonna happen. Here's all the things that are in my plan. I don't just do this for fun. I got a plan. This is business. And then how about a closing checklist? The subjects get off. You wanna see the referrals I would get. See, people say, Ray, how'd you do 100 homes a year? I had other people working for me. Namely my sellers and my buyers. They work for me. So, cause I would treat them so good, tell them all the stuff they need to do, make sure I would check in on them, make sure you're getting all this stuff done. They'd be telling their friends at work, like, I mean, there's nobody like Ray. You want your house, you want your home sold, or you want to buy a home, that's the guy to call. You get the whole town talking about you, then you're gonna start doing lots of business. But that's fragmenting all this information, breaking it down, okay? It's a negotiation. Here's another tactic. We're gonna go as far as we can. So the high ball tactic is, you gotta learn how to do this so many ways. So people say, Ray, how much you charge for commission? I could start lots of ways, but Ray, what do you charge? I said, a lot less than you guys get. I said, but you know what? I said, if you guys wanna take if you wanna take 7% and give me 93, I'm good. So do you charge 7%, right? I said, do you want me to tell you the exact numbers that I charge? Yeah, I wanna know exactly what's going on. I said, I'll get to that. See, there's so many different ways of dealing with the question, but right out of the gate, if somebody says, what do you charge? You can say so many things. I said, well, it's a lot less than what I should be charging. I said, I should charge 10% for what I do. I said, but I let the sellers I let you guys have the major chunk of money. And then they laugh. They go, really? I said, yeah, it's your house, it's your property. I'm gonna give you at least 93%. If the number's big enough, I might be generous and say, you know what, I'm gonna give you guys 94%. You know, like, and I'll tell you what, the more you train people to think of one number instead of a whole bunch of complicated numbers, the better off your life's gonna be. Better off your life's gonna be. Don't get them thinking all these complicated numbers. Just get them thinking, you know what, you guys are getting the big number. Ray is getting the little number. I'll work it out for you. Is it important to you? Oh, don't worry, I'll work it out. So, but start with a big number. Always start with a big number. So Ray, how much you earn on a house like this? I said, not enough. I just don't earn enough. Matter of fact, if you get me going on this, depending on who the seller is, depending on the field, I say, you wanna know something, folks? If you think I can do this for the commission I charge, you got another thing coming. I said, what you guys are gonna pay me is a fee, but I couldn't come to work for this. I said, but I'll tell you what I could do. I could come to work for this and 2 or 3 referrals. I still haven't answered I still haven't answered, but the thing is, if you go answering the question without realizing that you're in a negotiation. If I tell you we're gonna put you in a ring and you're gonna fight some guy, for your life, you better not run in there and try to finish it off if the guy's a pro. You better work your way up to this fight. So that's what a negotiation is. It's a bit of a fight. It's a bit of strategy. So, for instance, somebody says, Ray, how long will you list the home for? This is still highball. I said, well, hang on a second. If I list the home, it's listed until it sells. Like I'm not a starter, I'm a finisher. I don't get paid for starting. Yeah, but how long are you gonna list for? How long you wanna have listing for? I said, till it sells. I said, no, we gotta figure out how soon you want it to sell. I said, but typically, I said, I don't list anything for less than a year. I said, I've had stuff listed for 5 years. I said, I don't think we need to list your place for 5 years, it's not that, you know. I mean, I'm not sure what you guys want for this property. But I said, things sell at market value, and the market is, and there's an absorption rate that exists in the marketplace. And so I have to list it beyond the absorption rate period of time, or else I'm just listing the house and I may not sell it. So I don't get paid for listing, I don't get paid for selling. So when I say ask high, it's not just commission, it could be the length of the listing, it could be a number of things. So somebody comes in and they're a buyer, and they say, and I give them a buyer agency form, and they say, which by the way, I got a lady who's an expert on buyer agency forms. We've asked her to come, it's gonna cost us. The office is actually gonna absorb some of the costs. But she's gonna be here on April the 19th, we're just arranging it right now. It's an all day thing. It's an all day thing. And, but she will show you every which way how to negotiate and get people to sign a buyer agency contract. She's a good buddy of mine, she works in Kelowna at Remax, her name is Sharon Black. So mark your calendars for April 19th. We're gonna have it probably on the highway in Langley, so people can come from both sides. It's a great session to go through. Okay, we're moving on. So like for instance, in the midst of a heavy duty negotiation, you can always hire an expert. Like if you get yourself over your head, you better call for help. You know, sometimes you just make a phone call to me, I'll help you. I had a guy in my office, a guy in our office a few years ago. He lists a piece of property, and it was several $1 million, a couple $1 million. And he advertised it, and he got a buyer. The buyer went and wrote an offer with him for full price. He had a written offer for full price. He took the full price offer to the seller, and the seller sent to him. He said, do you think we could squeeze another $100 grand out of this guy? And that's when he should have called me. And he didn't. So he changed the contract, went back to the buyer to see if he could squeeze another $100 grand out of the buyer. And the buyer told him to go screw himself. He didn't want to deal with people like that. And he walked away. And if he'd have just phoned me, I would have said to him, first of all, get the seller to give you a check for the commission. Like when I bring you a full price offer and you want me to do something else, I will go do it. But you write me a certified check for my commission, and it's in my pocket, and now I'm gonna go see if I can do something else. But I have earned my commission. He didn't make that phone call, he got nothing. So you should know, hey, Ray's here for you. There isn't a deal. I hope one of you'll get a deal I haven't done, but I've done it all. That you're gonna come across. I'll help you with it. I'm here to help you. I'll help you. I wouldn't want to see you lose a deal. I had another guy. First commission he earned with us, I helped him with it. And his first commission he earned was $50,000. First deal. I helped him. He got the deal, he was feeling pretty good. First deal with us. And I said to him, when I went to the property with him, I went there and I helped him put the sign up. And I said, he was really, how am I gonna do this? I said, you know what, this is not gonna be that hard. I said, this property's gonna sell. And sure enough, while we were putting the sign up, we talked to a couple people who stopped to talk to us. And I said to him, I said, you know, I'll tell you something you need to do right away. I said, you need to go talk to those people next door. I can still see this property, it's just off of, it's about 148 and 88 in Surrey. I said, you need to talk to people next door and get them listed, because I think if this property sells, these people are gonna wanna sell the property, because at the time the market was rising, it was really good, you know, these people next door wanna sell. So he didn't do that, and the guy, within a week he sold his property. And he actually had talked to the people next door, but he didn't get the listing. So he was talking to the guy that bought the property, and the guy that bought the property says, do you know the people next door? Because I wanna buy their property too. He says, yeah, I do know them. He said, what's their name? So he gives them the contact information. The guy walks next door and buys the piece of property, and he walks away from over 75,000 commissions that he could have had. All he did is hire an expert. I had a gal in Surrey last year. I had a gal in Surrey. I was trying to recruit her. She works at Sutton or something, one of these companies. Trying to get her to come join us because she needed help. So she sat in our training room in Surrey, and we got talking and asked her how things were going. She just did a deal where she lost. She made about 30,000 in commission. The other agent got paid about 60 or 70,000 in commission, and the seller out negotiated her on 65,000 in commissions on this property. And I just asked her two questions. I said, did you ask the seller this and did you ask him this? And she goes, no, I didn't know how to ask him that. I said, and you're worried about our fees? I said, because if I knew you were trying to negotiate for a commission of 65, I'll come with you. I'll come with you. Put me in a fight with him. You put me in a fight with that guy in Surrey and I'll beat him. Because he doesn't do this for a living. I do this for a living. So you need to know how to have experts, but you can also have experts on a piece of paper. So you gotta have expert testimonial. You gotta have expert information. Like when there's appraisers, the Appraisal Institute of Canada will give you a sheet of what everything is worth after it's been put into a house brand new. You better have that sheet with you. I'll show you this tomorrow. I'll show you that sheet tomorrow. Because that sheet is like, that's from an expert. They don't want to argue with experts. You better know how to use your board stats. Board stats are very powerful if you know how to use them. If nobody shows you how to use the board stats, then you don't know how to use it, but these are, people don't argue with stats. And if CMHC's got an economic forecast, these are experts. These are just some of the experts you should be, you should know how to always use CMHC's information when it's necessary. Okay. Okay. There's a tactic called incremental conversion. So, you know what? If you can't get everybody in your team right away, figure out who the weakest people are and get them, work on them. Maybe break out and have a coffee meeting or have a little walk. Persuade one person at a time and then maybe use them as an ally to help you. Okay. Using legal terminology or using facts, logics, leading questions, survey results is a tactic called a lawyer tactic. It's a tactic. Okay? So if anybody enjoy watching courtroom drama where the lawyers ask all these questions, if you enjoy that, that's what we do for a living. We reason with people, we ask leading questions. So really what would happen? Here, you want a good leading question? So folks, you're wanting me to start this price listing. You want me to start this listing at 10% above retail. After we clearly established what retail is, you're saying, Ray, could we try it at this price? I said, we could try it at this price. Can I ask you a question? I always am this. Can I ask you a question? There's a phrase you just gotta roll off your tongue. Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question? They go, sure. Because nobody ever says no. Nobody ever said to me, no, you can't ask me a question. So it's just like how I talk. Can I ask you a question? They go, sure. I said, folks, I just need to know that if we have it at that price this weekend, and one of the realtors has somebody coming in from Calgary, which the best buyers are always coming from someplace else. They're coming from Calgary, Edmonton, or who knows where they're coming from. They're always coming, the best buyers come from someplace else. They're only here for the weekend and they're gonna buy something. They're gonna be buying, first of all, they're only gonna be looking at the sharpest priced properties. And if we're not sharply priced this weekend, and if they don't even look at it, and they don't buy it, and they would have bought it for this price that I'm saying to you is market, but you want to try it here, are you okay with missing that market this weekend? So when I tell people, yeah, if you want to put it at your price for a few days or a few weeks, and give me a date, that's one thing. But I'm gonna question them to death, I'm gonna fight them. They're not gonna know I'm fighting, but I'm just gonna ask them tough questions. And the biggest tough question you can ever ask people, folks, I'm okay to do that as long as you're okay with that. And if we lose something as a result of doing this, that could have been the sale. And then we end up, you know what, homes that are totally overpriced would have sold for retail when they came on the market. They always end up selling for less than retail later on. It's almost 100%. Every once in a while somebody brings this house on, it's really overpriced, and it would have sold. My neighbor, right next door to me, a few years ago, he puts his house on the market for 6 1/4. It was worth $575. I mean, there's several realtors in my neighborhood, so I talked to Todd. I said, Todd, that house is worth $575. He goes, yeah. He says, well, Todd lives there, so he's kind of. I wished it was sell for 6 1/4. It's not gonna sell for 6 1/4. So one of our competitors had to list for 6 1/4. It didn't sell. Finally, somebody in our office listed it, and the next summer. So it started in November. It sold sometime in July. Andrew sold it for 5 1/4. So that guy gave away $50,000. It's the house that Gary lives in.
Right.
A good Dutchman. He waited and watched them. He knew it was too high, and he just waited for that price to come down. When it came down to 5 1/4, he bought it right. So, help people by asking these questions. Yeah, you're welcome. Leaking is a negotiating tactic. It's one you should learn. Leak out some information. They might not know some information. There may be some information in the deal that means that it just leaks through. So, padding. So, I sometimes help people with this because they want to pad something. They want to ask for this. Like if you're working with a buyer, ask for everything. See, if you're working with a buyer, ask for everything. Even if you don't need it. So the buyer says, well, I don't want the washer and dryer. I said, great, let's ask for it. I don't need this, I don't need it, I don't need it. So great, let's ask for everything. So fill the offer up with everything you want. And all of a sudden the other agent goes, well, Ray, you can't get all that for that. So my question then to you, Mr. Other Agent, is, so for that price, what can I get? Well, I didn't say you can get that price. Because if you have enough stuff in the price, all of a sudden the emphasis is off the price. So it's just a tactic. You wouldn't believe how old this is and how people fall for it all the time. So make sure you don't fall for it. But you could make people fall for this all day long. So you get them to a certain difference in price, and you say, well, let's just split the difference to make the deal work. What does splitting the difference have to do with the price of Team Chan? Nothing. But if people believe it does, and you can make it work in your favor, go ahead and do it. Now, if people are trying to do it to you, you just look at them and go, what does splitting the difference have to do with the price of Team Chan? Are you nuts? Here's market value, and here's what we're trying to sell it for, and if we get close to market value, we'll make the deal work. But don't tell me some ridiculous price and tell me afterwards we're going to split the difference. That's just not going to happen. So you might just have, you just got to understand that it's a tactic that's been used for years. Hey, Bob, when you say it's one of the oldest ones in the book?
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the oldest ones in the book. It's been around for years and years and years. So don't fall for it. And then don't fall for this one. This is the people who tell you the same thing over and over and over again, hoping that if they tell you enough times, you'll concede. That's all it is, a broken record. And if you're using it, you might have to do this a number of times. Like sometimes you might have to be the broken record and explain to people, you know what, folks, I think I've tried to explain this a number of times. The market value is what it is. I don't make market value. I don't make the market. I report to you on the market. I don't make it. I don't have that power, but I can tell you this is market value. And people aren't going to pay more than market value, or people aren't going to typically sell for less than market value. So depending on whether you work with the buyer or the seller, usually it's with sellers. Sellers do not understand market value. So tomorrow, yeah.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say tomorrow in the session we do, I'm going to show you a number of things that you can do to help people understand market value.
What I had is there's a half-acre ALR. There's nothing else in town like that. How do you even, like they think their house is valued more. It's really not. We ended up taking it off the market because no one was going to pay that, and that was right from the beginning. But sometimes it's tough to determine what market value is on certain properties.
Well,
right?
yes and no. Yes and no.
Especially when there's been rentals. done and the
Right,
appraisal.
but the moment you say ALR, you hit a little bit of a nerve there. And the reason you do is because when it comes to ALR sales, most of the residential people don't have access to the sales. You see, most residential realtors do not have access to all the ALR sales.
Yeah.
So making sure you have access to the sales is a big deal, because then you might find out, here's all the facts. Typical ALR land sells for this much, and now we can deal with the house separately, right?
Yeah, land value, add the house.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, here's the thing, if you've got only a few properties, then you have to go further afoot to find what market value is, but market value still is market value. And I'll tell you what, at the end of the day, if there's certain parts of the business we have to master, and one of them is being a master and expert in determining market value. Matter of fact, I've proven this by asking people this question. I have a survey that I've given to over 1,000 people. And in one of the questions in the survey, they always pick as what's the most important thing for them, is the fact that there was a detailed market analysis done so that they were able to understand the value. See, where most people, the analysis is not detailed enough. And so to persuade something, this is something that is so hard for people to conceive. I mean, this is the biggest asset they have. For some people, it's the only asset they have. We're coming in and we're telling them a major chunk of money is not coming to them that they thought was coming to them, right? So you really, really have to go overboard at making sure you have all the facts for them. You don't want to screw this. Recently there was a bad example. The example was maybe about 5 years ago. These realtors went and listed this property. They listed it for, it was an acreage. It didn't have any buildings on it. It was about 5 or 6 acres or something in the Mount Lehman area. They listed it for a certain price, and a realtor who lives in that area drove by and saw the listing and phoned the listing agents and said, any offers? And they go, well, we're talking to a few people. To make a long story short, he buys it. This other realtor buys it. He buys it for less than the list price. Not much, but he bought it for less than the list price. I'm skipping a lot of parts of the story. When the sale happened, he may have had some subjects for a day or two. He removed his subjects and he asked the other realtor, he says, can I put my sign on it? And they said yes. These guys were totally inexperienced. They were experienced, but they weren't experienced. They've been in the business for a while, but they made a mistake. He put a sign on the property. He sold the property for $300,000 more before he had to complete the deal. So he never even had to complete the deal. He sold the property, and the only reason I know about it was the seller came and saw me one day. She says, Ray, what should I do? She tells me the whole story. Make a long story short, I told her the first thing you need to do is do not talk to a lawyer in Abbotsford. I said, go downtown, find a lawyer, a good lawyer, and it'll be a slam dunker, and you'll get the difference. Because that's blatant, not knowing market value. And you cannot do that to somebody in the public. That's what Arizona Missions will cover. And she went downtown and got a lawyer. She got the difference. The other guy, the other realtor, did nothing wrong. The listing agents are lucky that the rest of us paid into the E&O for them. They're still in business.